Newport City Council regular meeting is called to order at 6:34. Present at the meeting are council members, President John Wilson, Councilman Kevin Charbonneau, Councilman Chris Vachon, Councilman Clark Curtis, staff members at the table, City Clerk and Treasurer James Johnson, Interim City Manager Karen Garrity. In the room, Program Director Rebecca Tarian, additional staff members that I see. If I miss you, please identify yourself. Mr. Grenier, Mr. Brown in the hall, Travis Bingham, Frank Cheney. Did I miss anybody else? Yes, I got the police chief. Okay. Before we actually start with tonight's agenda items, I thought it might be useful to make some comments myself as the mayor as to items of public interest. First, I was interested to read the Barton Chronicle editorial suggesting that this council has been somehow trying to hide the ball about some pretty important issues it is now wrestling with. Vermont, as many of you know, has a very proud tradition in terms of openness in government. We see that in our statutes requiring notice and open meetings of public bodies. Meetings should, with rare exception, be open. We see also in our laws around how one makes records requests of government entities. Records should be readily available at no or minimal cost and be produced promptly to the residents. I know from my work with the legislature that the folks in Montpelier guard these public transparency laws vigorously. Yet there are times when the law protects other interests like personal privacy, employee performance on the job, contract negotiations process, and many other interests against premature disclosures. In the public record law itself, there are 43 separate exceptions written into the law. Then behind these, there is a compilation of another 215 exceptions written into our other state laws, for a grand total of approximately 261 exceptions. And you can all find this on the legislature's website. That is just to say that even in Vermont, the legislature has had to step in on 261 occasions to pass law to take certain records out of reach of the disclosure law, all for good reason, to protect largely personal privacy issues. And as for open meetings, the legislature was careful to preserve every public entity's right to go into executive session to discuss legal matters and contract issues. The law really does want to encourage a full and fulsome public discussion of issues of importance to the residents of the town and the city. But the legislature also wisely carved out circumstances where it determined that good government and wise decision-making had to be informed by free and candid internal discussions that, if held in the public domain, would pose risks of hurting people, or would risk the making of bad decisions and inappropriate spending of taxpayer dollars, or decisions about legal matters not aided by our city attorneys. Again, these carve-outs or exemptions mostly happen for discussion of contract matters, personnel issues, and other legal matters. Especially as to legal matters, I'm told that if we waive the attorney-client privilege, the privilege is waived for all time and for all purposes, even when the city is being sued for money damages. So we handle open meeting requirements and compliance with records requests seriously. We often seek legal advice and we always keep an eye out towards protecting privacy concerns and the best interest of our taxpayers and residents when deciding whether we have to help protect legal and other legally protected interests of the city meant to promote good government. So when I see that the Chronicle is claiming that simple invocation of the law for good reasons that are always stated on the record amounts to the engagement of, and I will read it from what they said, a conspiracy, abusing the process, operating the council as a star chamber, involving the secret settling of scores and vendettas, I have to laugh. I'm new to this council, and I know none of what's said in this editorial is happening. We're just trying to do the right thing, mindful of people's personal interest and the city's interest in making the right choices consistent with law and sound fiscal practice. The next item on the agenda is additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. President Wilson, do you have any additions, deletions, or changes?
No.
Councilman Charbonneau?
No.
Councilman Michon?
No, thank you.
Councilman Curtis?
No.
Treasurer Jim Johnson?
No.
I know. I do. We have a presentation that was going to happen, and the presenter has asked that it be taken off of this particular agenda and put on in the future, and that will actually be item number 5. So the presentation by Heidi Eichenberger will not be taking place. The next agenda item is to approve the minutes of October 2nd, 2023. Does any council member have proposed changes to the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We are now going to be opening the floor to public comment for each agenda item. Members of the audience are reminded that members of the press are present and that these proceedings are being recorded for current and future broadcast over the city's cable television channel. Members of the audience are further reminded that Newport City Council meetings are for the purpose of allowing council members to conduct city business. City council meetings are the only time the city council discusses, deliberates, and decides upon city matters. City council meetings are held in public to promote transparency and accountability in government, but are distinct from public hearings or town meetings in that they are not meetings of the public. Members of the public shall be afforded a reasonable opportunity to express opinions about matters considered by the city council. To conduct orderly and efficient meetings, I kindly request the public's cooperation and compliance with the published guidelines when participating in the meeting. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to read each name individually. I would like to remind the speakers to use the microphone, if there is not, or else. Okay, we have one. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, to use the microphone, you will be given a 30-second warning for your 2 minutes of speaking. When your time is up, I would ask you to please graciously stop. First person on the list is Lori Grimm.
My name is Laurie Grimm. I live in Newport. Mayor Sullivan and members of the City Council, I had hopes after a conversation with Karen Garrity that she would be the right choice for City Manager of Newport. However, in reading the agenda and attachments for the Monday, October 16th City Council meeting, I found it appalling to read the report contained in the attachments written by Karen in her position of interim city manager. If I had written such a report telling all the world how I thought my boss should do his or her job, or suggesting that the members of the Board of Aldermen didn't really know how to do their jobs, I would surely be fired. As referred to in the Newport City Charter 1966 and VSA Title 24, Appendix Municipal Charter, Section 7, City of Newport, the mayor as the chief executive officer and the Board of Aldermen jointly with the mayor referred to as the City Council, and having been vested with the administration of all physical, prudential and municipal affairs of this city should consider this a direct act of insubordination and remove Karen Garrity from the office of interim city manager and refuse to accept any request from her to be considered the city manager of Newport. As far as I have read, Vermont Statute Title 24, Appendix Municipal Charter, Section 7 is an adopted record by the state of Vermont to record the Newport City Charter of 1966 and should be considered the same. In both documents, Section 40 states, the council may, when the city so votes at an annual meeting, appoint a city manager who shall be the administrative head of the municipal government under the direction and supervision of the council and who shall hold office at the pleasure of the council. According to an information search I did today, a city manager as an administrative head is typically hired by the city council to oversee the administrative needs of the city. Administrative needs as in overseeing the daily operations of the city. Nowhere have I found a definition that allows the city manager to make the final decisions, which should be done by the city council. And in business, that position would also report to and submit to requests made by those in greater authority, thus the Board of Aldermen and the mayor. I believe this is an attempt at a hostile takeover by the interim city manager. Several former and current members of the city council and several Newport residents who have decided that our duly elected mayor and current council cannot do the job for which we, the citizens of Newport, elected them to do. We have already spent 8 years under a city manager who took on and acted upon the belief that she should be in charge and controlled everything, including the mayor and some council members. I am sickened to think that there are council members who would want to return to that.
Thank you for your comment. The next person on the list, Ms. Lads, please speak into the microphone, and you will have 2 minutes, and of course, if you go a little over.
I'm going to make sure that I'm not repetitive, and hopefully we all will. We elected the alderman and the mayor with the intent that they fulfill the charter, that they do the job that they have, I'd say, hired, except you get paid peanuts, that you've been hired to do. And that would be fine, except that requires that we, the citizens, get out of the way and let you do that job. That is not what's happening. I have been appalled the last few meetings watching micromanagement, nitpicking pieces of legislation, alleged violations that have forced you to go into executive sessions and waste everybody's time, but particularly your own, and prevent you from doing what we elected you to do. We do not want a city manager to be in the position of the previous city manager. That didn't work for anybody, or at least not that we could see as citizens. We had many questions about the budget. We thought we were moving towards getting answers to that, but we haven't been, because we've been bogged down in baloney. For those of us who stand outside the room while you have the executive sessions, it is appalling to hear lawyers out there yucking it up about the next bunch of violations they can bring to the table, finding it hilarious and grandstanding to an audience. When I want to be skunked by a lawyer, I can find that in many other ways. That's what's happening here, and it's not okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Manette, you are next. If you would please identify your affiliation.
My name is Paul Manette, resident of the city of Newport. I noticed the item has been removed, but I'm still going to address the item. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I want to thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. I know there are some, including some members sitting at that table, who feel I am being disrespectful for expressing my opinion. As far as I know, this is still the United States, and as a resident of Newport for all but 9 years of my life, and as a taxpayer, I have that right to express my opinion. Being a former elected official does not disqualify me from that right, nor should it. I stand here tonight, I originally was going to express my dismay at agenda item number 5, the presentation that has been removed. What I found interesting is, on the agenda, there was no description. Every other item on that agenda had a description of what it was about. There was nothing in the packet that was presented to the council or online about what was going to be presented. For the record, Ms. Eichenberger sued the city, the state of Vermont, and other organizations. It was disqualified by a judge. It is now before the the Vermont Supreme Court. And I kind of found it appalling that it would be on the agenda tonight, a presentation, and if it had anything to do with that, item, or Lakemont housing, or anything like that, or even the grant, it shouldn't even be entertained by the council. And so I was just concerned when I saw that on the agenda, knowing that there's a current appeal before the I keep saying US, the Vermont Supreme Court. I certainly hope that the council will think carefully before allowing any type of presentation that might be associated with the grant or that program until after the appeal is heard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next person who will be speaking is Mr. Pronto. Would you please identify your affiliation and speak into the microphone?
You hear this all right? So I'm Charlie Pronto. I think everybody knows me. Last meeting I attended, I mentioned how disappointed I was with what was happening with the city meetings. Last meeting I was in Maine. When I got home, I watched the meeting on video. My prior disappointment turned to disgust. The first hour was spent with city council and city attorneys dealing with the constant harassing open meeting violations by one city resident, who in my opinion is misusing our law degree to disrupt every city meeting. The last meeting it was noted this person's vendetta is costing us taxpayers a small fortune, $10K in just the last 2 months, and possibly another $1,000 just for the last meeting. And this is just for 2 months, people. That doesn't include city employee time, paperwork, etc. to deal with this foolishness. If allowed to continue, that would be in excess of $50,000 per year. As a result, the meetings are unpleasant for city residents to attend. Then a former mayor, ex-council member, and current representative get up and read prepared statements telling the current city council how to proceed and who to hire for city manager. They have not been part of the interview process and are not fully aware of the deliberations that have taken place. They also don't think it was appropriate for the council to do an evaluation of past performance of the person they want appointed. Seriously? Would that not be a normal way to proceed before hiring? To complicate things more, that very candidate now hires a lawyer to get the appointment and negotiate for it. I've never heard of such a thing. So we have lawyers from the city arguing with the lawyer of the candidate on how to proceed. In the audience is a lawyer trying to figure out what violations she can send for the next meeting. And we have ex-council people also trying to direct how to proceed. Meanwhile, the current council people are walking on eggshells and afraid to say anything without a lawyer's advice, fearing retaliation from someone. My solution is simple, and I got about 40 more seconds because I can't read that fast. So, to ex-council members, representatives, and residents, I suggest if you have an issue with how things are being handled, please reach out to the mayor, the city council, and the people and offer constructive advice. They all have emails, and the mayor and council president even have weekly hours to do this. Second, the city should file a harassment or a cease and desist order against the lone resident disrupting normal city business. The residents don't want to pay for this nonsense or have to listen to it at every single city meeting. This would allow the council to tell the city attorneys they are not needed at every city meeting. The city manager, interim city manager, should tell her lawyer that she is perfectly capable to run the city, that if she is certainly capable of negotiating her own contract. Send all the lawyers home and get back to normal city business. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The next person is Ms. Barnes. Please identify where you're from and
Good
you may
evening.
proceed.
My name is Beth Barnes. I live on Jackson Street in Newport. Just real quick, I want to say I want to have faith in the process. I have very little faith in Karen Garrity as the interim city manager and the prospective city manager. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Next person is Ms. Bierling. Could you just identify where you're from and then you proceed? Thank you.
Jennifer Bierling, resident of Newport. A recent public documents request revealed a very bizarre event. On August 15th, the programs director emailed the mayor stating, "I'm setting up the council room for tonight's meeting and I can't seem to find the gavel. I know it's a long shot, but would you happen to have it?" The mayor responded, "I have it." After her very first council meeting on August 7th, the mayor took home the gavel. Not a pen that one might inadvertently drop in one's purse after signing documents. The gavel.
Are you kidding me?
I sat at my computer reading the emails and I thought, who in their right mind would take home the gavel? The council room gets used by the zoning board, the planning commission. Who used the gavel? Why would anyone take home the gavel? Then it hit me. The gavel represents power. In our mayor's mind, the power is hers and hers alone. Tonight, it appears that the mayor and Attorney Mahusky have drafted a new job description for the city manager that grants the mayor extraordinary power, entraps the city manager, creates an untenable situation for the city, and opens the city to liability. The new job description mandates that Ms. Garrity implement the policies and procedures adopted by the city council. It further mandates that she implement the negotiated agreements of the city. Yet, the new job description strips Ms. Garrity of all authority for supervision, evaluation, discipline, and termination of staff. Hence, it is impossible for Ms. Garrity to implement the evaluations, grievances, and dismissals pursuant to the personnel policy. It is impossible for Ms. Garrity to implement grievances pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement with the public works employees. Both scenarios result in potential harm and liability to the city. Assuming the city manager contract incorporates this amended job description, the mayor and Attorney Mahusky are acting contrary to the best interests of Newport City and advancing the personal interests of the mayor. The mayor, in a less than subtle way, is eroding our local democracy and moving Newport towards authoritarian rule. You, councilmen, are the residents' last line of defense. I beg you to vote against the amended city manager job description and uphold the job description which you unanimously approved just 5 months ago in May. I beg you to award Karen Garrity the employment contract she proposed and which she revealed at the last council meeting to be the same contract held by the former city managers. The residents of Newport need a balance of powers to retain our democracy. Do not vote in favor of authoritarian rule. Allow the gavel to remain with the people.
Thank you for your comment. I'll let you continue even though those items are on the agenda. The next person is Mr. Walsh.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, Ms. Mayor and Council. Jay Walsh, resident of Newport. I just want to speak to the appointment of Ms. Garrity to city manager. I'd like to remind you of the statements Ms. Garrity, upon accepting the position of interim manager, said to judge for yourself if she has held up to her promise to you and the citizens. Her statement verbatim is, "What I will say as interim city manager, you have my promise, and you can hold me to it, that I will follow policy, procedure, and process, and that's how I expect you as community and as the council to evaluate my work and competency. And in my opinion, and what I know of her actions, she has violated each of these promises made to both the community and the council." Soon after making this statement, she then violated the Vermont Secretary of State's directive regarding posting of political signage. Just days before the special mayoral election, she allowed her Director of Public Works to remove all the posted political signs around the city, knowing he planned to do so because he stated so in the City Council meeting. This was done in direct conflict of the Secretary of State's instructions of election policy and was a clear violation of the candidates' rights, but also of the voters' rights to fair and free elections. A clear failure to follow policy and procedure and certainly due diligence and due process. Then, in clear violation of her conditions of employment, she signed a federal document on behalf of the city for the Causeway Project with obligations exceeding $800,000. Fortunately, an action to resolve this before legal actions could occur was taken up by at the last city council meeting. Left unresolved, this would have likely have derailed the Causeway Project altogether, a project that the city has been working on for over 40 years. Please take note that signing of this contract without authority to do so is a civil offense. And signing a contract that you are fully aware of that you are not authorized to sign enters the criminal level of offense. I'll end with reference to Ms. Garrity's public letter to the Newport residents that was signed with the city council, the warning of the meeting regarding the council and the mayor. The letter is full of inaccuracies, false assumptions, mischaracterizations of both the city government, the law, and the city statutes. I have one word to describe this letter: a diatribe. A diatribe is defined as a bitter and forceful verbal attack or criticism, often characterized by a lengthy, harsh, and vehement expression of disapproval or condemnation. We, the citizens, have had enough of this in this city, and this community cannot heal with Ms. Garrity at the helm. We need a city manager with integrity that has the experience to move the city forward. I hold Ms. Garrity to her promise here. I vote no confidence in her appointment as city manager. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I would like to address further open issue that I started with before. You'll see in this meeting package that our interim city manager decided to include a letter she wrote. As your mayor, I was a little surprised to see it in the package. It was added Saturday night and without discussing it with anyone. It's an open letter she signed, but it's pretty much a legal letter, and it's directed to the Board of Aldermen of the city. As you may know, the 4 Board of Aldermen and the mayor, me, make up the city council. Along with my 4 colleagues, I am a member of the city council with full right to vote and participate in all council decisions. It's seeming from Ms. Garrity's letter that she is not happy with how the city of Newport is required by law to govern itself. She wants changes to be made. She seems in this letter to be demanding that the mayor be excluded from meetings with my colleagues on the city council, that the veto power the mayor has should be extinguished. I am reading into this that Ms. Garrity sees me as somehow getting in the way of something. So that everyone knows, there's a city charter that was passed by the Vermont legislature over the last 100 years, and any changes to the basic structure of our city government needs to involve voters and the Vermont legislature. It cannot be changed just because the interim city manager wants to assume more authority for herself or wants to push someone aside. I'm not going to respond to this 5-page letter. I just know that if these proposals merit consideration, we would spend a lot of time discussing the wisdom of each proposed change during public meetings noticed for that purpose. And then we would have to determine if change was appropriate, how best to get those changes approved by the voters and then by the legislature in Montpelier. I have to say, speaking for myself, that I disagree with a lot of the characterizations and statements of supposed fact made in the letter. I do not see the need for the changes Ms. Garrity proposes. I think her interpretation of the law is wrong in material ways. This seems to me but an effort to expand her authority. But these proposed changes are not on the agenda for discussion this evening. Maybe we will have an opportunity to discuss some of them at a duly noted meeting, but not now. As to a larger issue, I have to add that as mayor, I am disappointed in the submission of Ms. Garrity's last-minute letter. Over and again, she cites her view that there is current dysfunction within city government and amongst the city council. She asserts that she is being offered unfair contract terms. She states that the city charter operates in a way that's just completely wrong, and she proposes a unilateral realignment of the role of the players identified in the city's charter, which again is a form of law. It's basically our Constitution. It can't be changed simply because Ms. Garrity is grumbling that she'd rather it all work differently. Part of this discussion about the charter could have occurred last week, but Ms. Garrity demanded that she not be made to sit with the council to discuss her role and performance to date, or of the council's expectations of her. I honestly do not see the dysfunction Ms. Garrity claims to exist. I don't see unfairness in how we are approaching her contract. It's totally in alignment with our charter. I am disappointed that Ms. Garrity feels the way she does, that she has apparently an agenda to change how we, a long time ago, decided how we were going to govern ourselves, and that she decided to address what could have been a collegial conversation to one markedly by adversity. There's not much more I care to add here. As mayor, I disagree with just about everything she wrote and with what she is trying to do. It appears that she has an incompatible vision from the council members whom she is legally obligated to serve. So rather than spend much more time on this, we're going to be moving forward to our duly noticed agenda. Item number 6, presentation from Paul Hamlin, VFWD Land Selection Chief, for right-of-way donation. Mr. Hamlin?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Hamlin? Mr. Hamlin?
Sorry if I stand up there so I can address the council a little bit. What's the thing? Good evening. My name is Paul Hamlin. I'm a wildlife biologist with Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. I manage the South Bay Wildlife Management Area and a few other state wildlife management areas in the Northeast Kingdom.
Do you want to use the microphone? I
Yes.
apologize. I don't think anybody can
No.
hear, and it would be very helpful, and I apologize.
Sure.
Thank you for interrupting me. Go right ahead.
Is that better? Quick recap. I'm Paul Hamlin, wildlife biologist with Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. I oversee our private lands habitat program, but I also manage some wildlife management areas in the Northeast Kingdom. I'm the manager of the South Bay Wildlife Management Area. I'm here, in short, with a proposal to basically keep things the same as they are on South Bay Wildlife Management Area. First, I should ask if all of the council members and mayor, did you receive the proposal in the mail? And if not, if I have copies here, if you want to see the maps, so everyone has access to that. Okay. So then I'll just briefly recap. Basically, there's a site on the Glen Road right near the town Newport city boundary, right near the state correctional facility, where the public has accessed the South Bay Wildlife Management Area and the marsh there for decades, at least since the 1960s. They use it for fishing and canoeing and waterfowl hunting, wildlife viewing, kayaking, and it's been enjoyed by countless people over the years. Well, let me back up. So the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department assumed for many years that that was actually state property right to the edge of the Glen Road. And that's where there's a little short road that the public accesses the water from there. And in around 2006, the Fish and Wildlife Department erected a sign that notified the public that that was part of the South Bay Wildlife Management Area. And we were quickly informed that, in fact, Mr. Jeff Blank owned a strip of land between the Glen Road and the South Bay Wildlife Management Area. It's only about 50 feet wide strip of land. So we removed the sign and things stayed the same, the status quo. People continued to access over Mr. Blank's property. And many years have passed, and Mr. Blank has now offered to graciously donate a right-of-way, a legal deeded public right-of-way over his property to the South Bay Wildlife Management Area. I'm here before the council to request your approval of that donation. We won't even be requiring any land and fee, it's just a legal public interest. A legal right-of-way 20 feet wide and 50 feet long that will connect to the existing road on the state land. And so basically it's just a proposal, things the same and in perpetuity. That way the public will always enjoy the access there regardless of who owns the land. This will have become a public access. The only things that would change in a minor way is we'll do some improvements to the road, the section of road. It's starting to get a little washed out. We'll maintain it with gravel, trim the trees along the edges, have a routine litter pickup, and once again put a sign there that establishes it as public access to South Bay Wildlife Management Area. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anyone has regarding this proposal, and we respectfully request your approval of this.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Let's start with the council. Anybody in the public have any questions or interesting questions? Okay. So is there a motion to be entertained?
I'm willing to make the motion, I'm just not thinking of the
That's
wording.
okay. Take your time. Take your
So
time.
it's just to approve the land deed with no fee? It's,
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Is it that it's requesting approval for the state to acquire any legal interest in property, a fee acquisition of land, or even just a legal interest. The very first step is to obtain approval of the local municipality. So in this case, it's the city of Newport. If it was a town, it would be with approval of the town select board. That's the first step in the process. And then this goes through a long process. It would be approved internally by the Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife, and eventually it goes all the way to the governor's office, and then the governor would approve this legal interest in this property, and then a fee, not a fee, the deed would be recorded. And this would all be at no cost to Mr. Blank. The Fish and Wildlife Department will absorb all of the costs for a survey of the right-of-way and the legal fees.
so I move to approve the acquisition of the right-of-way overland of Jeff Blank to South Bay, WMA.
I have a motion for the approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Any further discussion by the council? for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Congratulations.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is to consider Development Review Board appointments with an anticipated vote. Somebody just call me.
Would you like me to say something?
That's what I want, yeah,
I-
I'm sorry. I was trying to see who I was recognizing.
My
Thank
chair's
you.
not here.
Okay, would you like to go
Yeah,
ahead? Thank
so
you.
we have,
I recognize Mr. Chan.
We have 3 current members, full-time members. I ran an ad for a couple weeks to try to solicit for more after Chief Hallerman retired. I have 2 very highly qualified and committed individuals. I've been having an issue with this board as far as membership goes since I've been here, which is only about a year, and I'm very excited that the DRB has approved both Dennis Shinet as a permanent member from an alternate matter and Melissa Pedersen as a permanent member. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Should we be separate?
Yeah, I believe they would be separate motions. Okay. So do I hear a motion regarding, first one is Ms.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we put Melissa Pedersen onto the Development Review Board. Full-time member.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion for Ms. Pedersen to become a full-time member of the Design Review Board, and I have a second. Any comment from the public? Any further discussion by the council?
I just have no
Sure.
issue with it, I just have a question. Do we know whose term she is fulfilling and when it expires?
Well, it's a vacant term, and it's my understanding that it would be for a full year term starting now, but I may be incorrect. There's no rules associated with it, Mr. Curtis.
No. One of my goals was to have a full review board and plan commission.
Right.
So I'm just curious, in the past.
I researched all the rules, and there's no procedure associated with this. So my assumption is that she would get a 2-year term.
2 or 3? Used to be 3.
It's 2 years on the DRB, 3 years on the planning.
Thank you. I'm good.
Is that good, Ms. Is it 2 years? Is that, okay. Okay, so
3 would be fine.
I think she'd have a say in that.
I'm not planning on expiring.
Good, okay. Okay,
I mean, they
so,
changed that.
please don't. So we have a motion to appoint Ms. Pedersen. And I have a second. Ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. And the motion's carried. Congratulations. Okay,
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I just want to advise the council that it should provide the reasons for its appointment.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, may I poll the council? Councilman,
She has served on the city council. She is very active with Newport City. She wants to pursue more service to the city and being on the Development Review Board. She's excited to learn that and to further her service.
thank you. Mr. President?
Mr. Sharpman was pretty well said it all, and it's not like we have thousands of people trying to get on these boards. We're lucky if we get anybody to volunteer for them. So when we see a volunteer and then a second one wanting to go from alternate to full-time, I would support it. That's why.
The same, I know she's qualified. I think she went through it, did you go through an interview process?
Yes, I did.
Yes. We have a letter from Agas Colburn, Vice Chair of the DRB. Her letter states she needs to learn, but I'm sure you're in good hands.
Councilman?
Echoes what's been said already, vested in Newport, comes recommended by the vice chair, so.
So now, officially, congratulations.
Can I thank John for that candid compliment?
You may.
And I'd like to thank you for volunteering.
Okay, the second part of this was.
Is it a motion for an appointment or motion for a change?
A change of status,
Okay.
there's a motion for a change of status.
So I move to change Dennis Chanet's status from alternate to full-time member of the DRB.
I have a motion to change status. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comment? Any further discussion?
About time.
Okay, it is a change of status. I'm going to call the question unless,
I have one thing. Do we have to say why?
that's why I was just going to say, I'm going to call the question unless our city attorney is going to call the point of order and tell us that we have to say why. It's a change of status.
Sorry, are you asking a question of me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am. It's okay.
Okay. You're
Okay.
asking if a change of status requires anything?
To explain why we are confirming the change of status.
Is it a change of status doesn't require more reasons, but feel free to give all the reasons you wish.
Thank you. Anybody have any reasons they'd like to express?
Yes, Mr. Chanette has been on about every board in the city. He's led a couple of these boards, and he's probably the most qualified person in the city to be on the board.
Okay. We have a motion, a second, we have reasons, and ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. The motion is carried. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda, to consider a new appointment to the Newport Recreation Committee with an anticipated vote.
So I guess that would be me. Hi.
Welcome.
The one standing in the back. I'm Jennifer Smith. I am the vice chair of the Newport Recreation Committee. Hi. So we are recommending an appointment for a high schooler, so it's kind of exciting. Her name is Aaliyah Wilburn, and she has expressed an interest in becoming a member of our board. We are currently at 8 voting members, and with a majority in Newport City, and we would love to get her young ideas. She's been a great asset already, even though she's not a voting member of our board. And so we just ask you to entertain allowing us to put Aaliyah on the board as a senior in high school.
Well, thank you. Okay. Does she happen to be here?
I don't see her here tonight. We did invite her, but she is pretty busy with sports and stuff, so.
I just didn't want to go over, if she wasn't.
here tonight.
Thank you. Okay. May I have a motion for that appointment?
Mayor, I'll make that motion to appoint Aaliyah Wilburn to the Recreation Committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I know it's an appointment, so. Any further discussion? Yes, go ahead.
I have a comment. I've met Aaliyah. She's a force. She is amazing. She has a ton of energy. She will wake everybody up. And she will bring that energy in a really good way.
Thank you.
Very positive, dynamic young woman, and I wish she could be cloned.
Okay, yes, Ms. Beerley.
Yeah, I just wanted to say
Oh, I'm
to,
sorry.
I just wanted, I'm a high school teacher, and it's just really neat to hear that you're involving high schoolers in this process, because I think it's a wonderful introduction to public service and civics and how things work, and it's gonna build the next generation, and that's super, so thank you. Thank you for doing
Thank
that.
you.
Ms. Barnes?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I know Aaliyah too, and she's the real deal. And Jen, you are so lucky to have her and be serving on the board. She's gonna do great things in Newport.
Well, assuming the board, yes, of course.
Oh.
Thank you.
Pressure. Yes, ma'am.
Just clarifying that she's a senior?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion here? From my council members, I would like to reiterate, confirm that I agree with Ms. Beerling's comment to have young, vibrant people coming on board, future leaders. It's amazing. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I so appreciate that. Okay. I have a motion, I have a second. Ready for the question? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have the ayes carrying it, so the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to your new member,
Not denying.
and hopefully we'll get to meet her. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to address the notice of open meeting law violation received on October 10, 2023, with an anticipated executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1F for attorney-client communications. Do I have a motion for premature public general knowledge of the confidential attorney-client communications?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, I think it'd be better if I think there was some missing language in the motion. I think it'd be best if the first motion was reread.
Sure. So I'm asking that the motion the motion be stated to find that premature public general knowledge of the confidential attorney-client communications made for providing legal services to the city council would place the city at a substantial disadvantage because disclosure of the otherwise confidential advice and communication would harm the city by waiving the city's attorney-client privilege, 1 VSA, section 313A1F. Councilman, is that all right with amending the motion that you brought?
Yes.
Thank you. And the second? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. May I have a motion, please, to enter executive session to discuss confidential attorney-client communications with the city attorney for the purpose of providing professional legal services and invite the city attorney.
Yeah, I think it's really important.
I'm sorry?
Who's talking?
I'm just going to repeat that motion. May I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss confidential attorney-client communications with the city attorney for the purpose of providing professional legal services and invite the city attorney into the executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1F. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say nay. Ayes have it. Motion is carried, and we are now in executive session. We're out of executive session. May I have a motion that the city council deny the alleged open meeting law violations stated in Jennifer Bjorling's letter received on October 10, 2023, as stated in said letter.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment?
I have
Further
a
dis-
question. Is it council comment right now?
No, I was just about to come back to council,
Okay,
but I
I just-
will allow your question.
Thank you so much. Can Attorney Smith please state the reasons for the denial? That would be helpful.
Attorney.
Yes, I will, if the council denies it, I will provide short reasons.
You're recognized after I do that. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Attorney Smith?
So this notice of violation argues that the city council did not have authority to review, to receive the information from city employees that it did in the executive session. And therefore, because it didn't have authority to receive that information, it violated the open meeting law. But the open meeting law protects access to meetings that the public has a right to be at, have access to, and the conversation and information that occurred in the executive session, the public would not have access to if it were performed by the city manager as the complainant suggests, and that is why we recommended that the council deny.
Thank you, Counselor. The next item on the agenda is to amend the city manager job description. Purpose in bringing this forward at this time is to correct an error with respect to the city manager job duties and responsibilities, and for the council to approve and adopt the amended job description. On page 2 at the top, the word contracts was removed from the list of documents the city manager can, with the council's approval, execute. The charter at section 10 provides that if the mayor approves any contract made or voted by the city council, then the contract must be signed by the mayor. So this power cannot be delegated to the city manager. So may I have a motion to amend, approve, and adopt the Newport City Manager job description as it appears in the council's October 16, 2023 meeting packet?
Can I ask for a clarification?
Sure.
Was that the only change in the job description? No. And
We're talking about this specific job, but let's bring our counselor on.
okay, yeah.
Okay? Counselor Kursky, are you there? Was there
Yes,
a question?
I'm here. Thank you. I didn't hear the question though. Would you mind repeating?
Was the only change in the city manager job description the one stated by Mayor Sullivan?
The word contract?
Yes. Yes. So we removed that word contract. It had been in a prior job description, and even then it probably should not have been approved. And I believe the only other change might have been the signature line, so that we made it clear that it was approved by the council and the mayor. So that's the only difference. No, I'm sorry. That it supersedes all other job descriptions. Those are the only changes.
My follow-up question is, if there was ever a time where we needed to allow the city manager to sign a document instead of us, that'd still be a council decision?
So with respect to contracts, is that the question? With respect to contracts or with the signing of the job description itself?
And just anything that the city manager or the mayor or the council would sign, would the city council still be able to vote for the city manager to sign on behalf of the city?
So many documents, if you look at that list at the top of the second page, there are a number of documents that the council gives the city manager authority to sign, once it's been reviewed and approved by the council. But with respect to contracts, that's a little bit unique because the charter actually addresses contracts. And so contracts need to first be approved by the council, then, approved through the charter process by the mayor, and then the charter actually directs the mayor to sign the contracts. So I think the answer to the question is it would be improper to ask the city manager to sign contracts under the charter.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Yes. Of course.
So this contract is identical to the May, this job description is identical to the May description approved by the council that I interviewed under, except for that change with regard to contracts.
No, I don't think that's the.
That's correct.
So that's the question.
So, okay, so we're going to.
Well,
did you hear that question?
So I think the question I heard was, is this the same job description? Is that Karen?
Yes, hi, Marilyn.
The camera doesn't show her.
Oh,
is that right?
Yes,
hi,
it's
Marilyn.
Okay,
Yeah.
hi. So it doesn't, I can't see, all I see are hands, Karen.
Yeah.
So the job description that was in effect when you were offered the position of the interim city manager was the job description adopted by the council in May of 2023, just before Laura left. So the job description that the council has before it today is a slightly different job description. And that job description was reviewed by the council, or in the context of the well, I shouldn't speak. I believe the council saw it during an executive session.
So my follow-up question though, Marilyn, is I interviewed under that job description, and that was in play and is still in play through these negotiations. And that's the question really before us, is essentially this restarts the clock. I mean, this is a different set of responsibilities, and we can go through that, but it's a different job description in material ways.
Well, I would disagree with that characterization, Karen. I also would point out to the council that adopting job descriptions is the prerogative of management. Sure. It's highly unusual in a contract negotiation for a job description to be negotiated. So then the council has authority to change the job description really at any time, from time to time, right? So the fact that the job description that was in effect at the time the interim city manager was hired is not necessarily relevant to whether or not the council has the authority to amend or change that job description really at any time.
But that job description was not my job description as interim city manager. That job description was developed for the interview for the permanent city manager position, and that's what everyone interviewed and was essentially evaluated against. So I'm
Madam Mayor.
Would you like to?
Well, number one, I'm here as her attorney, and you have your attorney. This is not executive session.
No, what I'm asking is, would you like to take over the questioning? Is that what, because.
No.
That's okay. That's all I was.
But I have some points to make.
Sure.
Number one, we are in negotiations, and this, to me, represents an attempt to change what I understood to be the intent of the Board of Aldermen, that the contract under which Karen was hired as interim was based upon, and it was attached, the original job description that was posted and resolved in May. And what happened was, When the contract offered to Karen came out, there was a different job description than what was interviewed for. So I consider what's happening now, Marilyn and I can disagree on legal issues, but this now takes on a new light, which the aldermen may not be aware of. They may think that, as was discussed, there's only one change. In fact, it is quite markedly different. It gives the mayor the power to require the city manager to copy her on all emails sent to the city attorney. And it also makes the mayor the equivalent of the city council in a footnote. What we have proposed, and are willing to, we have the contract here tonight, is to accept all of the conditions that the contract contains, except to have the original job description that the aldermen endorsed and promulgated in May. That's the one that we want to live under. And then under that, they can add duties, okay? But you shouldn't be adding duties and changing the expectations that both candidates and the interim city manager worked under. Thank you.
Thank you. So just,
Is your comment?
not yet.
Okay.
So just for clarification, I want everybody to remember that everybody who was supposed to apply missed the deadline, and we've been allowing this to go forward, because that was an important question.
I'm talking about
Wait,
representation.
Please.
Oh, if I could, I think what you're looking to me, Mayor, is to respond to some of those,
Exactly.
the comments. I'm not sure who that was. I assume that was Mr. Kilmartin.
It was.
Certainly I disagree with many of the comments that Mr. Kilmartin made. The council always has the authority to revise the job description. Job descriptions are not part of a negotiation for offers of employment. This is very outside the normal course of business. The job description that the council passed in May is not materially different. I believe that's the word that was used from the job description that the council reviewed just a few weeks ago. The question that I answered earlier was relative to changes. The question I answered was, I believe, was relative to changes from what you saw a few weeks ago to today, not what relative to changes from May to today. It's important to point out that under the charter, under section 40, subsection 8, the city council has the authority to direct the city manager to, I'm sorry, I don't have the language directly in front of me. I'm not really good at walking and chewing gum in terms of actually looking at the specific language. But they're under number 8 in the city charter. The council, which includes the Board of Aldermen, when the Board of Aldermen and the mayor act together, comprise the council. Number 8 gives the, provides that the duties of the city manager shall be, and it lists a number, and to perform such other duties as the council may determine by ordinance or resolution. So by adopting the job description, amending and adopting and approving the job description that was contained in your packet, you are complying with the charter. So any of those tasks under that new job description, which are very comparable in most respects to the job description you approved in May with some fine points, and also to just clarify some provisions and tasks and responsibilities, is that once this job description is adopted, those then become the tasks as directed by the council. So to say that this is being directed by the mayor, or that somehow this gives the proposed job description, or let me rephrase that, the amended job description somehow changes the dynamic that's set forth in the charter is simply not right. It's simply incorrect.
So, may I respond? on behalf of my client?
Yes.
Thank you.
If I may, negotiation, there is a provision under the next section where the council will have an opportunity to go into executive session to discuss the employment contract.
But that's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're doing here. You warned it in this manner, and so there's no executive session on this. So, the Board of Aldermen, I believe, are under the impression, and it certainly was the expectation of Karen, that if any changes were made, it would be after the contract was negotiated. Pardon me. And the negotiations are ongoing. So what you're being asked to do, Alderman, is to change the expectations that the public would have had on her interim contract. And I respectfully disagree with Attorney Mahusky. These are material changes. Examine them, look at them, compare them for yourself. That's your independent responsibility. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Madam Mayor, comment? Okay, let me get the motion first and then throw it out. Okay, is that all right? To see if we have a motion, so let me start with that.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
can I make a comment?
after, let's go forward with this now, okay? So, do I have a motion to amend, approve, and adopt the Newport City Manager job description as it appears in the council's October 16, 2023 meeting packet?
I don't even know which one we're looking at.
We're looking at the
I
one.
understand that, but damn it all, and excuse my language, I've received 3 damn job description changes in the last day. I don't know which one is which. And to change one little word, this whole session has been taken over by the lawyers. We are afraid to speak, for God's sake, that the lawyers don't like one word. Well, I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell you honestly, I almost walked the last meeting. And I've never quit anything in my life, and I'm here till March. But this stuff has got to stop. We've wasted so much time and so much money on, I'm gonna get off my chest. I don't care what. Never in my life, and I brought it up to an individual today. You're hiring somebody, and you, okay, he comes back in, and they were given the contract. Here it is, you got 2 weeks, hash it out. So at 5:30, 5:15 today, I get 2 different contracts. And we're supposed to act like we know what we're doing. Hell, I don't even know which one right now that we're looking at, because there's been so many. But never in my life have I, and I've been around quite a few years, probably more than probably everybody in this room. Never have I ever gone in for a job interview and the boss is ready to hire me, and then the day before or a week before, I turn around and bring in counsel and tell my prospective new boss what the terms are going to be. Most time they'd say, I hear you, get out. But right now, I know, I'm talking. We have turned this into a stupid little circus to hire a city manager. It's sizable good money, but we're bickering over a couple words. And I'm gonna tell you honestly, I'm not leaving, but I'm fed up with this whole process. Okay, I've said enough.
Thank you.
May
For
I
right now,
respond to
anyway.
Mr. Wilson?
No.
Maybe because he's.
Not right now. So right now, there's a motion first, okay? And I need to know if there is a motion to amend, approve, and adopt the Newport City Manager job description as it appears in the council's October 16, 2023 meeting packet, which is this one.
So that's not the one that, the two that I got
No,
at
those are
5
different.
o'clock this
No,
afternoon?
it is the one that we attached to.
Well, I'm gonna say this, if our council says this is what it's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Comments? Ms. Beal?
Mr. Wilson, I understand this is frustrating. I do. But it's important.
No.
It is important because the job description that you as a council passed in May, down in the section of responsibilities, says that the city manager is responsible for the full range of supervisory activities, including selection, training, evaluation, counseling, and termination.
Okay.
That's the one you did in May. It now reads, the city manager shall appoint, excepting as otherwise provided by the city charter, all officers and employees of the city, period.
All right, thank you.
Thank
So-
you for your
So
comment.
I'm gonna respond to you.
Thank you for your
I'm
comment.
not finished.
Can I
Yes,
respond?
thank you for your comment.
I am not finished.
Thank you
I think
for
you
your
are.
comment, Mr. Ponto.
So, this whole thing's bizarre. I've hired and fired a lot of people in my life, including the city manager, I know that, long time ago. So, never have I ever had an employee hire a lawyer to get a job appointment. This is the first I've ever heard of this in my life. It's the most bizarre thing in the world. Second of all, the charter, I have a copy of the charter. I know it pretty damn well. And this is my copy. I didn't go and get one. I've had this for about 30 years. So if you read, I read the description that's in there. It is verbatim to what's in the city contract, in the charter. There's nothing in the city charter about emails, because when it was written, we didn't have emails, but communication's the same. So that's good enough, but every item on that thing is directly, it's verbatim to city charter. And by God, I would not hire an employee that refuses, or a lawyer that refuses to abide by the city charter, which is what we're obliged to do. And that's my comment. I just think this is absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you for your comment. You are I was going to recognize you, but I just wanted to see if there was anybody out there first. You're right.
So, thank you everyone for being here tonight and listening and working through these many weeks on this. And I just would like a little latitude of time just so that I can present to maybe correct some misperceptions and put things for your consideration. I was asked when I was interviewed by President Wilson, we were all there, what my definition of transparency was. And I said that transparency was sufficient information to make a decision and proper procedure.
I'm sorry, just 1 second. You know that was all in executive session. You're aware of that?
Yes, that's okay. So, but that is my definition, regardless of whether I was,
And just-
okay, I'll just correct that to say, my definition of
Yeah, right.
transparency is, thank you, Mayor,
Yeah.
that we have sufficient information to make a decision and that there's proper procedure. It's the only way there is transparency. What I neglected to add is that in transparency in government operations, that there's a legitimate use of power through proper authority. So you've heard me say a number of times, Mr. Walsh mentioned it tonight, information, process, procedure, etc.
Take your time. It's okay.
I have a very high standard as a public servant. Please excuse my cracking voice. I came to help. this community. I was asked to step into this role. I came to help. And what was very clear to me, and what you heard me say very early on, is that there are several sources of authority, and we've quoted a number of them tonight. We have our charter, which was in 1967 altered to bring on the city manager. So that supersedes what was in the charter prior to that, but was brought in. So 1967 created the city manager position. The issue was, and we've talked about it, and we're actually living it right now, is that these sources of authority, the charter, the statute, the rules of procedure, and even these job descriptions, are causing conflict in our various roles. The roles are somewhat defined, not defined, subject to change. We have a mayor, we have our 4 aldermen, we have the council in their joint function with the mayor and the aldermen, we have a city manager with various responsibilities. We've watched over years, prior to my coming on a few months ago, we've watched over years how the city manager position, the mayoral position, the council commission are at odds since 1967. In large part...
You can finish up, you have a couple of seconds.
Thank you. In large part because these documents are at odds. My letter, if you want to call it a letter, to the alderman and to the mayor, in the packet, was designed to point out what some of these controversies are, what some of these conflicts are.
Thank you.
Between the various... I just need to finish this point.
Go right ahead. But that's it.
What some of the controversies are. We need to resolve them. We need to move forward and resolve them. My issue, and it's been my issue with the contract, is that not the money, you can set the amount, and it's not been with the terms. It's been with the definition of moving power to various positions that is not voter approved. I have, as I said, a very high standard as a public servant. My role, in part, is to help the council, work with the community, but protect the voters' rights to make the ultimate decision on how our city government is to function. It is only the voters that can change the nature of how we operate. So I have suggested and continue to suggest, and we'll finish with this, that as a council, whether I'm here to help you or not, I've given you a roadmap to say these documents must be reconciled if we have a hope of moving Newport forward with voter and taxpayer approval.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
And so I just want to make sure that everybody remembers that I addressed that letter, and there's a total disagreement with any kind of dysfunction or conflict. Thank you. Mr. Pronto.
So I'm just gonna make a comment on that, because I again disagree with you. So section 40, which is what you're all talking about, I have it right here, says the council may, not shall or has to, when the city so votes at any annual meeting, appoint a city manager.
Right.
That's what it says. So you don't have to. Who shall be the administrative head of the municipal government under the direction and supervision of the council, not the 4 board of aldermen.
Right.
Not, you know, and the council is, further in this charter, described as 4 city councilors and a mayor. And who shall hold office at the pleasure of the council. The second thing I want to say is this is adopted by the legislature, has the same power and more than a Vermont state statute, which it does not conflict with because it supersedes, it overrides state statute, which they give towns the capacity to do. So the Vermont state statutes mean absolutely nothing. This is what governs our city.
Thank you, Mr. Pronto. Mr. Walsh.
Yes, I have to agree with Mr. Pronto on all of those points, as well as I have to take issue with Ms. Garrity's reflection of her following the policy and procedure. She has demonstrated that she is not, frankly, I do not believe that she understands the charters that she is referencing that need to be modified. nor that she understands that even how those are to be modified. That it's not your power to modify those outside of certain provisions.
And I'm not
I
claiming to
think-
be the one to modify.
I think that it's totally appropriate for the city management, which is you, the council, and the mayor, to make any changes to anyone's job description at any given time. That is the right that is issued to you by the state of Vermont, and I fully support that, period.
Thank you. I have a motion and I have a
Can I
second.
make a comment?
I'm coming back to
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Any further discussion by the council?
Yes. Just jumping back, just as my own point, when I have applied for jobs, that job description stays until I get the job. After that, it can change, and the council does have 100% power to change the job description. My question is about timing. Is it necessary that we do it now, or can we put it off until the other parts of this application process are either done, redone, revisited, whatever needs to be done? That's
Okay. Any further discussion by the council? I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
no.
I have 2 ayes, 2 nays. I vote aye, and the motion is carried. Next item on the
Point of
agenda.
clarification, Madam Mayor? Could I hear who voted yea and nay?
Yes. May I just have that roll call one more time? It was President, the President of the Council voted aye. Councilman Curtis voted aye. Mr. Charbonneau voted nay. And Mr. You poor thing, we've been calling you every name tonight. Mr. Bichon has voted nay, and then I voted.
And Madam Mayor, who wrote this particular job description? And to make sure that I have the right one, could I have the one you just approved?
It's in the packet, yes, we can send that
So
to
the
you.
one that's in the packet is the one,
That's good.
and who assembled that?
Attorneys, client privilege.
So the council, the council for the council wrote together, is that?
Attorneys were drafters of the legal document. That's as far as I could go unless my attorney would like to say anything. Other than that, I'm going to move on to the next
Madam
agenda.
Mayor, could the council explain their vote?
I'm going to be moving.
Could they explain their vote?
No. As I said.
No? I thought it's
What?
been ruled that
Wait,
you have to
wait.
explain votes.
No. Please. Enough. We're here. We're back here right now. And I'm talking to the attorney, so I want to finish that question. Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add, or we can move on to the next agenda? You're on mute.
Yes, thank you, sorry about that. No, I have nothing to add, thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the city manager contract, anticipated executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A1AF and or A3 to discuss contracts, confidential attorney-client communications, and the possible appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. So may I have a motion to find that premature general public knowledge of the council's discussion with the city attorney would clearly place the council at a substantial disadvantage, as it would reveal the negotiation strategies and positions of the council and waive the confidentiality of the city's confidential and privileged communications, 1 VSA Section 313A1A and F. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The motion is carried. May I have a motion to enter executive session for the purposes of considering the contract terms proposed to the council for the position of city manager and invite the city attorneys into the executive session pursuant to 1 VSA, section 313A, 1A, and F. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried, and we are in executive session.
Madam
Please, to move to reject the counter proposal offered by the interim city manager on October 16, 2023, and conclude negotiations with the candidate.
I will make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. I will be asking for comments at this point in time. Those comments on this topic will be limited to 5 minutes in total. Any comments from the public?
Could we hear the motion read back?
Move to reject the counter proposal offered by the interim city manager on October 16, 2023, and conclude negotiations with the candidate. That was the motion that was made and seconded. Comments from the public? Yes, Ms.
I'm not sure that I heard that correctly. You saying you're rejecting the contract offered by the interim city manager or the contract offered to?
By.
Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, what does that mean in layman's terms?
In layman terms, it means that this particular negotiations with this particular candidate are over. Council discussion? I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. I want to give just a reason for that. The council had concerns about the candidate's ability to work collaboratively with the city council. The next item on the agenda is to consider possible appointment of the city manager.
I move to table the item.
I have a motion to table the item. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment? Discussion with council? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next agenda.
Madam Mayor? So what does that all mean? Are you gonna start a search again? What does that all mean?
Most probably, we will have an agenda item going forward on that. It might be an appointment, it might be putting a search back on. So we'll let you know with the next agenda. Or if I know sooner, then I will let you know. Is that fair?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Can I make a comment
On the table?
Yeah, the table.
Well, I guess you can, but it's already done. Well, yeah, you can, I'm sorry, I apologize. Yes, no, please go ahead.
Okay, I'd just like to say that I've been here a long time. I've worked with 5 city managers and 2 interims. And I've got almost 40 years of service to the city. And in all my time here, I've never seen a process like this in my life. We advertise for city manager, move the deadlines, appoint a city manager, unappoint a city manager. In the end, don't appoint a city manager at all. And the other thing that really bothers me is these accusations made against Karen, which I haven't seen any, and the no confidence that people have in her. And I can't understand that. They don't have any comments on the city manager. There hasn't even been city manager yet. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Comment taken, thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Can I ask
Just
a
wanted to get
question?
that off my mind.
So right now, let me come back. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. to table. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Will Ms. Garrity continue as interim city manager?
Absolutely. So at this point in time, there's been no action taken on that. Next item on the agenda is consider creating a position for a city grant writer.
Move to table.
I have a motion to table that. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment? Further discussion by the council? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next item, new business. President Wilson, any new business?
None.
Councilman Charbonneau?
Actually, yes. This past Saturday, there was a homicide in Newport Center, handled by the state police. Due to their staffing issues, they requested the assistance from Newport Police. Newport responded, and the sergeant on duty, Sergeant Lynch, I believe, was extremely grateful. Let the chief know and all those responding. So, again, the state police only had 3 people working. 2 of them, I believe, were tied up on the domestic, and they requested help from Newport PD, and Newport really stepped up. So, good job, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Michon, any new business?
Yeah, just this weekend is I forgot what it's called, Spooky Wood Walk, if Mike's still here?
He stepped out.
Okay. It sounds like it's gonna be really fun. $5 per person. I think there's a deal if you go as a group.
Where
I'm
is
looking
it?
forward to it. Proudy Beach, the area where there's the new tent sites down there. Sounds fun.
Everyone in costume?
It seems like there's a theme, so.
Okay. Councilman Curtis, any
No,
new?
thank you.
Mr. Johnson, any new business? Okay. Next item on the agenda is old business. President Wilson? Councilman Charbonneau?
Oh.
Councilman Michon?
No, thank you.
Councilman Curtis?
No.
Treasurer Johnson? I would like to announce that the members of the public and the council have been submitting recommendations for the Extra Mile Heroes. And I had spoken with the editor of the Newport Express, who's also working on a project like that, and we might be combining our information and do something together, and I'm waiting to hear back with the structure of that. The mayor and the president of the council met with the executive director of VLCT to discuss various opportunities for training and strategizing for Newport and other local municipalities. And I will have more information on when that training is going to occur. The mayor is also pleased to announce that the mayor's hours and have been continuing with the president who's been there, the president of the council who's been there, and it has just been absolutely wonderful to have all of you come in and discuss openly what your issues are and concerns are and where you need assistance, and we welcome that. Again, so we hope that you will continue to do that. Next item on the agenda is to set the regularly scheduled meeting of November 6, 2023 at 6:30 PM. Motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And the ayes have it and the motion carries. Next item on the agenda, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:06?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion to adjourn, I have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries and the meeting is adjourned.